Now it is the time, because you have presented papers, those papers were evaluated. Now the time is to declare the award. All of you must be anxiously waiting for it, right? Yes, no? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Definitely, yes.
Before we start this valedictory session, I request our chief guest, Mr. Dwivedi, to come here and share his thoughts, 2 minutes. Right, sir? Yes, sir, please.
We had discussion since morning, so there is nothing different to share, but it is good that, I don't know whether I should call younger generation, because if I say that I become older, I don't want to do that. But younger generation is taking time out for these kind of activities, which are anyway aligned with your basic profession. But there is no compulsion, I believe, for all of you to do this, but still you are doing it. So that is more important. I could meet people like these who are, have taken a challenge of improving government utility. So this is also very nice. Some people are working on improving electrical safety in electrical distribution in Mumbai, which is again a very challenging task, so to say. And I'll just speak 10-15 minutes about basic 3 things which our seminar is aimed at today. First is, let's talk about electrical safety or safety in general, because so many, the topics discussed were regarding total in general safety also. It is good to note, I am actually experiencing it outside also, that at least corporates are looking at safety very seriously now. All corporates in India have started looking very seriously. Earlier it was only with multinationals who had come in India. Now it is Indian corporates also who are very serious about safety and practicing it. They have separate departments of EHS and so many things keep happening. There is a management hierarchy also, that safety people do not report to production people. Earlier even that used to happen. I mean, if a safety hurdle is there in between daily production, then it used to be overruled. Now that doesn't happen. They have separate powers. I can see even in multinationals or even in Indian companies, postgraduate technical people take task of electrical safety officers and really follow it very religiously. So that is a good thing. Culture-wise in India, I mean, I'll give you a small example. We during our last session, CMA, where we had organized, there was a foreign delegate for whom we received him from Mumbai airport and we took him to our venue. In span of about 6-7 kilometers of that journey, he saw that traffic signals wherever they are there is a traffic cop, and where there is no signal, there is no cop. He said, this is very, very funny. I mean, when you have a traffic signal, why you need a traffic police there? Because if there is a signal, people have to follow it. We said, no, in our country it is exactly opposite. When there is a signal, people tend not to follow it. So, see, there is where we land as far as discipline is concerned. So we as Indians, typically I say we are genetically indisciplined. We love being indisciplined, and that's what causes all safety concerns and so many other problems in our life also. The first time when I had done my foreign travel, I had gone to Germany, and if you walk on the footpath and if you just give a stare to a person who is driving car, immediately he will stop, thinking that you want to cross. I mean, that kind of respect and so much of awareness is there in those countries. Whereas in our case, if I do that, he will say, who are you? I want to go first. So, anyway, vehicle will we put in third gear and he will pass first. So from that we have to come to a stage where whatever we saw since morning, that there are zero incidences and all that. So there is a long way, but it's good that so many people are trying to practice it and take it ahead. As far as electrical safety is concerned, or rather in general, as I said, safety is concerned, to take it to the lowest level, I personally think that in India some concrete legal framework, if it is there, through which if we try to practice, I just give example of income tax to everybody. I mean, there is a network of chartered accountants. We don't see often that an income tax inspector is coming to our premises, but 50-60% people follow it. At least all employees there, wherever you are employed, your income tax returns go automatically, or you do that. So 60% of law abiding is there, as far as there is some monitoring infrastructure is existing. Presently, as far as electrical safety is concerned, that infrastructure we are completely missing. I mean, there is absolutely no infrastructure. It is there, but it is only for namesake. So if that gets improved, and this is just a well wish, I don't know when that will happen. If you go through our standards and statutory documents like CA 2010, they are best. They are one among the best in the world. Not that we lack somewhere there, but it's a matter of implementation, and implementation can come either voluntarily or it has to be practiced by law. I mean, there has to be some kind of returns, penalties, all that if it goes. Particularly, this department has not taken any help of technology so far. When all other now GST, I can probably sit anywhere in the world and feel my GST, and I am happy. As long as I am paying correct taxes, nobody troubles me at all. Something similar is happening about income tax also. Every year there are some modifications coming in, but as far as electrical safety is concerned, lapses are not even surfacing because there is absolutely no monitoring. So some such technology help if government decides to take. I don't know whether this is a forum to even express this, because when it will happen nobody knows. But if that happens, then probably things might improve, because interest of individual to improve it we saw since morning. There are people who want things to improve, but we are so small in number compared to those who do not want to follow that. Unfortunately, in electrical engineering, overconfidence builds very fast. I mean, just last December, I was called for a kind of root cause analysis to a company which consumes about 22 megawatt of electrical power and manufactures 5 megawatt of seamless pipes every day. They had a flashover in 11 kV panel, and ultimately 600 meters away, say rather 3 kilometers away, whatever MSCDCL substation was there, that breaker disconnected that fault. Nothing happened in the plant for when the incoming transformer was of 35 MVA. The transformer burned totally. And when third day when we were called, we saw that the HTDC control voltage breaker was off. We do not know. We do not know whether it became off because of this accident or otherwise. When it was put on, so many breakers dropped. So I mean, such thing, and the company till top people, everybody was saying that we are 23 years old. Nothing has happened till yesterday. And it happened on that day. So it can happen any day as far as electrical engineering is concerned. So basic care has to be taken. So 5 crore rupees worth manufacturing stock for about 45 days. The company had huge political backup, so they could pull in 11 kV RMU panels very fast from manufacturers. Let us not take name of who the customer was, but if they would have been, they had two 35 MVA transformers, one was already under repair. So they could put that manufacturer under pressure and get it back early. With all that, 45 days production was not there. And because of COVID, that substation was unmanned. Otherwise, there were tables and chairs for 5 people to sit in that substation, and they were shift in charge people. So they would have been there if there was no COVID shutdown. those 5 people at least definitely would have lost their life. And the total repairs ultimately they did by patching 11 kV cable at 27 places in the plant to restart the plant. So such is the situation even at such big power guzzlers. So all this can improve only if there is a strict legal vigilance to all this. It's very difficult, but we have a hard task ahead. As far as designing of new systems is concerned, electrical safety and uptime enhancement is now going hand in hand. Industry 4.0 is just one name of it. Just yesterday we were with Parle Agro, all this fruity and all beverage manufacturing company. They have 11 factories 8 in India and 3 abroad, and their total power consumption is something like 65 megawatt. So they are not small in all plants put together, and they claim that they have already reached about 85 to 89% of their installed capacity they are utilizing, and they want to go to 95. Now such output people are expecting from plants, and if there is a power shutdown or a unplanned breakdown in the plant because of not well coordinated protection system, then there will be stoppages. So people are expecting it now. Time has come when we will have to think whether is this possible manually. People are so confident about designing relay coordination and everything manually. First of all, the engineer, when he comes out of college, he doesn't know what is relay coordination. When it starts from that point, and industry is going to expect all this now. I again will give same example. I graduated in 81, so up to 84 PC was not existing. When PC came in, first PC came in, most of you might not have seen floppy drives. That computer used to have floppy drives. So from that, computing power was obviously very less. Now it is phenomenal. I mean, even a high-end mobile which you carry in your pocket itself has lot of computing power, and internet is fast and everything is there now. So whatever benefits accounting and finance departments got because of technology, it is time now engineering people also should get it at the same level. So there is it is absolutely not required that you should do all mathematical calculations manually. But as electrical engineers, so we all will accept that electrical engineering is only mathematics. You don't see electron. Then you see at least piston cylinder working, or pump working, a impeller rotating. There is nothing here. I mean, everything is 100% mathematics. And when it comes to AC, it is further complex. It is complex mathematics, not complex by its real meaning. It is vector mathematics. So practicing it manually is virtually impossible. Just like Tally made revolution in accounting and finance in India, there are softwares available which definitely help you. And we have to learn now to honor cost of softwares also. There is always trend in India to pirated milta hai kya, and people go by that. So people spend huge time in developing those softwares, and if you really have a good copy, you can work it very well. And all electrical calculations can be easily done, and absolutely without any compromise, designs can be done. Further analysis also can be done. Load flow short circuit is not only limited to power systems where you generate and distribute power. They are also applicable within plant. Handling 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt power, or even for that matter 2 megawatt power is not a joke. If you know everything thoroughly about your own system, you can do it better. So my suggestion is just try to propagate this message that precise calculations in electrical engineering are must. They will definitely help you, and they can give you both. I mean, safety as well as continuity in the supply. Now, yesterday half day we were struggling in metro just to see if a ventilation system has 6 feeders. If a particular feeder trips, which topmost breaker is going to trip first. There are 2-3 vendors using different make switch gears. So, there was a real this thing when the simulation was there on the screen. Within half an hour, we could take decision whether the coordination is possible or not. And when it comes to commercialization, everything is related to money. So I cannot just tell somebody that you change your breaker from A to B, frame A to B or something like that. It is associated with money. All metro contracts are fixed value contracts. So even if any quality improvement is required now, nobody is going to pay the vendor more. He has to manage within that. So such optimizations are definitely possible if you take help of computerized calculations and do the things virtually in all mid-sized companies now. Accounting person actually looks after finance. He doesn't look after ये bill कौन से book में post करूँ and additions and subtractions. You can agree with me. Earlier accounting department used to be fully loaded only with that. Now it is not required. So this is as far as safety is concerned. As far as energy is concerned, my experience for last 10-15 years in India is frankly speaking very bad. Of late I have started discouraging accepting energy audit orders because there is no technical satisfaction also. Even if you find out anything, nobody implements. Nobody implements. So other countries where we do, at least people are interested to some extent. But even low-hanging fruits also, the moment an energy auditor goes back, it is not possible. The only places where it gets implemented are few multinationals who have targets of carbon footprint reduction. They get budgets for that, and because of that, things are implemented. But nevertheless, there is always a chance that new systems, at least we can design which are energy efficient by taking basic, course of design standards and all. I'll give you another example. We audited one Japanese company in Pune which manufactures 1,000 medical syringes per day. 1 lakh medical syringes per day. It's a Nipro. It's a Japanese company. Now in that company, the incoming is 132 kV, about 11 megawatt load is there for the entire plant, and for whatever utilities they use for their injection molding machines and other machines, they have a big chart which says machine number 1 from morning 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, this is the utility requirement. So much of compressed air at so much of pressure, CFM plus pressure. Such charts they make for 24 hours, add up every hour, and then their utility requirements is set. And the targets are you should not go plus minus 5%. So if any day more compressed air is consumed, the utility manager has to answer why it was more. So people work at this up to this accuracies. Not that abhi compressed air kam ho raha hai aur ek compressor laga. So that is a normal trend in our case. 60% of energy on an average, I am not talking about every type of industry, but on an average about 60% of energy goes into utilities, which are common anywhere you go. Their compressor is a compressor in a hospital, in a engineering industry and in a process industry also. Same thing is about chillers, same thing is about various pumps. So 5 HP ka pump laga do. This is a normal thing which we hear continuously. I have seen people spending on Grundfos pumps which are probably 3 or 4 times costlier. If you see the leaflet of the pump, it will talk about 80-85%, 90% efficiency. But overall pumping efficiency, if you look at, how we calculate, we cannot calculate pump efficiency and motor efficiency individually at site. So we calculate hydraulic power output and electrical power input. Now most of the time this never crosses 50% as far as pumping is concerned, which is horrible. So there, if you really calculate what is your HP requirement and what is your head, what is your pressure, it's a very simple calculation. So many calculators are available on the internet also. You don't have to really break your head for calculating. But such things, if they happen, I do not know. Those of you who are 50,001 certified, do you get an indent with energy calculation from your indenter? 50,001 says that you should get energy, rather demand calculation from your indenter, and based on that the purchaser has to take a decision which product to buy. he cannot buy only cheapest. He will have to buy, again it's a ISO, so he will be required to buy within budget, but within budget he has to buy a maximum efficiency giving system, not product. So system approach, what they call in management, is also applicable for energy management, and always you should look at it as a system rather than a product. Many places people ask us, audit all our motors and tell whether they are energy efficient or not. Now, when the motor is a part of a machine, as an energy auditor, I cannot say whether it should be 5 HP or 4 HP or 3 HP. Maximum what I can say is how many times it is rewound, is it giving less efficiency now, and based on that, if you calculate its payback period, then nobody will accept the replacement. So this is how it goes. So systems approach and basic engineering calculations if you do while selecting any product for that matter. Another small example is recently I constructed my own farmhouse near Pune, and when utility company told me that about 3 lakh rupees worth expenses you have to do for getting a power supply there, I thought instead of spending those 3 lakhs, let me try whether I can go for wind plus solar. So I went very systematically. I did simulation of wind as well as solar at that GPS location for all 365 days, and ultimately I found that it is feasible, maybe within same expenses. So ultimately now last 2 years I am running my 1600 square feet farmhouse on wind plus solar and energy storage. There is no MSEDCL connection at all, and I am happy. What I did, I went in for BLDC fans. Now if you ask a person whether he will buy a normal fan or a BLDC fan, he will immediately say no, BLDC is very costly. But if you really calculate, most of the time, typically in the Pune weather, you run fan at hardly 2 or 3 third step of speed. Now a typical fan spends rest of the energy into resistance or somewhere for reducing the speed. Where this being a DC motor, hardly people understand that single phase motor efficiency is never more than 60% by design. So wherever you are using single phase motors, so many engineering industries use man cooling fans. Now all those man cooling fans are 99% of the time single phase fans. 100, 200, 300 fans we see at site, they all operate at 60% efficiency. So if you go for a 3-phase motor, obviously efficiency goes beyond 90%. All these inverter based air conditioners and refrigerators, you initially spend about 1,000-1,500 rupees more. Now my refrigerator and my farmhouse works with 42 watts. Most of the time it works only at 42 watts. If you take a normal refrigerator, it will take minimum 170-180 watts. So this difference you can make if you apply your basic engineering knowledge we learn throughout. And saving energy is saving earth, saving planet, increasing profit, and all that is going to automatically come in. Okay, now this was as far as our topic today was concerned. As regards the papers, I was very happy to really go through all of you, whatever you presented. There are very good inputs. I also could learn something out of it. I keep learning. I mean, that is always there. As an engineer, you can learn every day. There are so many things which you do not know. As an electrical engineer also, I never knew about, from civil engineers, I learned today what is M30. I know that there are grades in cement, but first time I could understand that M30 is 30 Newton per meter square as compressive strength. Compressive strength, no, I am correct. So I learned for the first time. So there are really good inputs. Cable, I could imagine, whatever I have seen in my life so far, that it's a challenging field. So whatever, and typically your generation is now understanding that old installations were good. So that is also a good change, and good to listen to all that. E-Lotto I heard for the first time. Somebody was talking about E-Lotto. Lotto, we hear so many times about electrical safety, but E-Lotto is definitely a good thing to do. Audio video SOPs is also first time I heard, and definitely it will be effective. Because my practice when I did my engineering study was reading book was used to be very difficult for me. I used to sleep. So my main procedure at that time was I used to read it loud, record it, and then listen it. And then I still remember that I used to, while writing paper, I used to get that sound in my ear that, I have read this and I am writing this now. So audio visual, that too with your own employees, definitely it must be giving a different effect. This initiative of society is also quite admirable. I mean, collecting people with such innovative ideas and continuously for last 10 years you are doing it, and just now you have showed that you are going to continue with it forever. So definitely it gives some impetus to new generation to keep the things doing. People love getting appreciated, right? I mean, everybody loves getting appreciated. So your organizations also, we should congratulate that they are allowing you to do this and such atmosphere is created around you. Those who are in Tatas, I mean, I have my experience at my home. My wife was working with TCS for 28 years, so I know Tata culture as such. So those who are in Tatas are obviously, I would say, blessed, because you get that kind of infrastructure in Tata companies. The rest also, it's good that you are getting those opportunities. Anyway, this is all what I wanted to share. I hope my presence was useful to all of you to some extent. At least it was very much useful to me, because I could learn so many things from veterans as well as you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We have learned a lot.